groove. What we're going to do today is go through all the licks of basically from the 50s all the way through the 1970s. This is when guitar playing was actually cool. Today all the bands are doing really bad things. I don't like it. But I'm old. Then again, that's what we're here for. We're going to learn the classic stuff. You want to learn stuff that was came out of the 70s, like Skinner, Stevie Ray Vaughan, Kiss, Zeppelin, you name it, that kind of guitar playing. That's what we're here to handle. And I was around then, as you can tell. I still got my 70s hairdo, so know what we're talking about here. Anyway, like I said, we're going to cover some of the basics from like Chuck Berry back in the 50s, revitalized a little bit. We're going to get into some of the tapping stuff. Right after that, everything went to pot as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, we're going to cover some different variations on some things that you might already know. But then again, like I said, we're going to concentrate on what made all the cool guitar players cool. You know, basically 70s, it was all about guitar. There was no synthesizers yet or anything else to make the music wimpy as it is today. So anyway, let's get in on this thing and y'all have a good time, alright? Okay folks, the first run we're going to do today, the first lick we're going to do, is something that everybody did back when. Everybody's still doing it today. Why? Because it's a beautiful thing. It's a great little lick. Plain and simple, it's just an ascending lick, and it sounds like this. So you got one of those. What we're doing here, we'll go ahead and stick it. We'll put it right here on screen. We'll stick it in the key of A this time. So just your good old-fashioned ascending rock lick. To do this, it's basically a series of hammer-ons and pull-offs. So what we're going to do is start on the low E string up at the 5th fret on your A note. And we're going to do that with your ring finger. And we're going to take this, pull it off to the 3rd fret on the E string, and hammer it back onto the 5th fret. Okay, so you're only actually going to be hitting with your pick one time. Okay, that's what we're going to do all the way through this. Most people's right hands aren't quick enough to pick every single one of these notes, so we're going to do a whole lot of hammer-ons and pull-offs. Okay, from there, we're going to go to the 3rd fret on the A string and alternate back to the E string at the 5th fret. Back to the 3rd fret on the A string. Now we're going to do the same thing we did at the beginning. We're going to do the 5th, 3rd, 5th on the A string using hammer-ons and pull-offs. Again, we're just striking it once. So far. Okay, now pay attention to the picking hand. Gotta pick all those. Okay, we're moving on up. We're going up to the 7th fret on the A string. So we're doing 7, 5, 7 on the frets on the A string as pull-offs and hammer-ons. Okay, we're just going to climb up to the next string. We're doing 5th fret on the D string, 7th fret on the A, back to the 5th fret on the D. So you have. Now we're just going to climb up and do 7, 5, 7 on the D string with hammer-ons and pull-offs. As of right now, we're back to A again, back where we started, but an octave higher. Now we're just going to go up another octave. We're doing the 5th fret on the G string, 7th on the D, back to the 5th on the G. Now we're just going to keep climbing on down. 7, 5, 7 on the G string. Hammer-ons and pull-offs. Okay, we're going to keep climbing straight down in this position. We're doing the 5th on the B, 7th on the G, back to 5th on the B. Okay, now here's where it gets slightly different. We're going to go to the 8th on the B. So we're doing 8, 5, 8 on the B string as hammer-ons and pull-offs. Now you can go anywhere you want here, one of two places anyway. You can slide all the way up to the 10th on the B string to get your last A note, which is generally where I go, or you can just plain and simple drop it down to the 5th fret of the E string. I just like to slide up to the 10th fret. So once again, slowly from the beginning. More at tempo. Okay. And you can just add some chunk to that thing and actually play every note and mute it with the palm of your right hand down here near the bridge. Which is very cool in and of itself. Once again, that's exactly the same thing, but you're actually picking every single note and placing the red part here on the palm of my hand right above, right past your bridge. So you're just muting the strings. And you can continue to climb up with that if you want. You know, it's the same scale, but you're just going up another octave. Now, something that's kind of cool to do right after this is what I basically like to call a power bend. 99 out of 100 people were using this all the way through the great rock years, and it's such an easy thing, but it's so effective. You can do a lot with these little notes. It's basically just this. Okay, very, very basic, very simple, but something you'll probably use more than anything I'm going to show you today. And to get this, it's basically been like you're doing it on 2 strings. We're going to keep it in the key of A. And then I'll basically show you what it's like after following the lick we just did. Just one of those cool licks that just can go anywhere. Okay, now to achieve this, what we're doing, we're going to be doing the E string and the B string up here at the 15th fret. You're going to place your ring finger on the 15th fret of the B string, your pinky on the 15th fret on the E string. Now what we're actually going to do also is put your first finger on the 13th fret of the B string. I know you've got a finger here on the 15th fret, but we're going to place this first finger on the 13th fret on the B string to help bend that B string up so you can hit both strings. So you're using your ring finger and your first finger, ring finger on the 15th on the B string, your first finger on the 13th on the B string, while your pinky is on the 15th on the high E string, and you're bending up the B string only. You're going up one whole tone or one whole step, 2 frets. So you're bending that D note at the 15th, the 15th fret up to an E. Okay, and we're doing that while we have the E string played at the 15th fret. Okay, now there's a method to my madness here. The reason we also have that first finger at the 13th fret here on the B string is we're going to pull off to it. So you're bending the B string up, back where it was, and pulling off to that 13th fret on the B string. We're finally going to rest on an A note on the G string there at the 14th fret. Okay, now we're going to shake the heck out of this here G string. And what else is cool is while you're sitting there on the A note, bend it down towards the floor. Okay, so we're basically going up to the 2nd of that particular chord, A to B, is what you're bending that to. It's kind of a pain to bend it up. I don't know why, but bending it down just makes it so easy. And if you overshoot that bend, that's fine if you go all the way up to like a C note. Because we're getting something kind of minor-y sounding here, which is very cool. There's your regular whole step bend. Now we're going to bend it up to C, which is very cool too. So just shake the heck out of the thing. If you bend it up a whole step or a step and a half, warble between the two. Everything's good, no harm, no foul. Okay, now that lick, in and of itself, there's a lot that can go on during that. All I'm doing there is just alternating strings, the E string and the B string with my pick. You get that British police siren sound. And just the more you play that, that is nothing more than what I just showed you. It's just a matter of phrasing on this. Okay, so again, from the very first lick we had, all we're doing there is just playing on the B string. We left out the E. There's a whole lot of cool stuff you can do just right there. It's just all a matter of taste and phrasing. Okay, what we're going to move on to now is basically back in the 50s, we had in my opinion, a horrible guitar player, but a very noteworthy one because he gave us some stuff that everybody still uses today. Everybody expanded on this, made it tons better, but basically this guy's idea, and that was Chuck Berry. If you don't know this, cool. If you do, cool. We'll find some other stuff in it that you can use. Just basically from your Johnny B. Good licks. That kind of stuff. It's old, it's tired, but everybody loves that thing. Most people in the audience would rather hear you play that than the coolest stuff you've ever come up with in your life. Who knows why? It's just ear friendly. It's something they recognize. They dig it. You play just that little. Everybody thinks you're a guitar god. You start doing all the Eddie Van Halen stuff there, go away. Anyway, so this is worth touching on. As far as just the basic, simple part of this, if you haven't ever done this before, again, we'll stay in the key of A. Okay, what we're going to do is start at the 7th fret on the D string. These two notes next, we're just going to the 5th fret on the G string, followed by the 7th fret on the G string. So we have. Okay, now here comes Chuck. He was basically, I think, was the first person to start hitting two notes at the same time playing lead guitar. So what we're doing is barring across, using your first finger at the 5th fret, across the B and E strings. You're hitting both those at the same time. So you have from the beginning. And you're going to hit that a few times. 5 times if you want to do it properly. Okay, followed by that is simply using your ring finger. You're actually barring at the 7th fret across the G and B string. Ugly sounding by itself, but it's cool later. Same thing, you're on the B and G strings at the 5th fret this time with your first finger. Simply resolving to an A note on the 7th fret on the D string. And that's the basic Chuck Berry thing. He's still using it as far as I know. Okay, so it's basically that. That's the only part we're concerned with because we're going to expand on this. Okay, it's not so much that particular phrasing as it is there's so much more to do within that these days. All this stuff, very rock and roll and very bluesy at the same time. Just depends on how you phrase it. Everything there is just what Chuck showed us, but we have expanded on it. Okay, a couple variations here on things that I just did. I'll show you how to do those. You're playing along the key of A. Very easy lick. You're doing that 7th fret there on the G and B string, bending it down towards the floor, and bringing it back. You're pulling that off to the 5th fret on the B and G strings. Again, resolving on that A on the D string at the 7th fret. Okay, another very similar part while we're in this particular mode here is just one note difference basically. Instead of the 7th and the 7th on the B and G, you're going to keep on the G string at the 7th fret with your ring finger. You're going to add your pinky at the 8th fret on the B string. We'll do the same lick, but we're just making the pinky on the 8th fret on the B string. This here's going to come in very handy shortly. Somebody decided to do chuck up one by moving a finger up one fret, but very, very cool and more modern sounding. Okay, again, it's just all about phrasing there. Okay, so that's very cool. More in that same area is that. You've heard this everywhere. You gotta know it. We're back at the 5th fret and the 5th fret on the B and E string. Now what we're doing here is basically the one-up on Chuck method. We're doing 7th fret on the B string with your middle finger, 8th fret on the E string with your ring finger. Okay, so you do a little bend on these here, can make it cool. So we're just staying in this little box. This here is probably 90% of what most people are still playing today in classic rock and blues is these type of licks. They're all staying right in this box. Okay, one other little thing we just had right there is a little unison bend. Very cool. Learn this one. If you don't know it, learn this one. You're here again, still at the 5th and 5th on the B string and E string. You're going to the 7th with your ring finger here on the G string. And you're just bending that G string up a whole step to make an E note to match the one you have here on the B string at the 5th fret. You just keep bending it until you hear those two E notes actually pull together in unison. Okay. Okay, there we are, stuck in the 50s. Not a bad place to be. That's how you get those. It's just that simple bend. Now, when you went up into the 70s, there was another guitar player who took this just a couple notes further. Everybody uses this today. I still use it. And that was Ace Frehley from Kiss. He did an entire solo A good 5 minutes long, consisting of nothing but basically what I just showed you and adding a couple, 2, 3 more notes. Those notes is that. He played this thing for 5-10 minutes, only that, but just getting faster and faster. Boring, but everybody thought it was the coolest thing at the time. So it was just basically that, nothing special, but it's very cool to know. I still use this every time I play. Those added notes to the Chuck Berry thing. You've got that bend that we just did. Then when you get there to that unison note, you're striking the high E string, which is fretted at the 5th fret. And then we just have a basic little pull-off lick, which is having the B string at the 8th fret. You're pulling it off to the 5th fret, which you still have fretted. Then we're just simply striking the high E string again at the 5th fret. That's the whole lick. Sounds noisy by itself, but tell you what, man, you put that in a song, people dig it. Nothing more there than what I just showed you. So again. That's everything I just showed you right there. So it's just a matter of phrasing, what you think is cool, what the song calls for. Just to touch on something else while we're right here, and another thing that Ace Frehley was famous for, is, okay, that G string that is bent up, after you have that bent up, is basically sounds like your guitar is stuttering trying to get to the next phrase. Very cool. It was groundbreaking at its time. So that's all it is that G string that is bent up. And you're just playing all kinds of different phrasing as you're releasing that one note. Do a little pull off. Back to your A. So that's kind of some cool stuff right there. Okay, another thing we have while we're right here, got a lot of stuff to cover while we're right here. In the 70s is where actually tapping began. We'll cover a couple basics of this because it didn't become real prominent till the 80s, and it just went overboard, and it was like driving a Nova, you know, everybody was doing it. But the original tapping, again, Ace Frehley did it, a whole lot of people did it in the 70s, but they didn't go overboard. The basic simple ways that they did this was grabbing that same bend we just did, something like that. So they're going back up, we're still in the key of A, they're taking that note that we just had bent, and they're grabbing another A note, just using your middle finger. What you have to keep in mind is what I did was I tapped on the G string at the 12th fret, which usually is your G note, but since we have this G string bent up 2 frets, now that G becomes an A, just like if you were doing it on the 14th fret. This is simply because you have the notes back here on the 7th fret bent up. Now when you're pulling off to that, you hammer on your tap. Now you got to release it, but you're actually picking that string on the G string, just like you would be picking down here, but you're actually picking it as you pull off to help, you know, the note keep carrying on. That was very cool in and of itself. Again, I like the the old British, police car siren sound. To do that, while you're tapping that, and you have this note bent up, keep tapping that, and release your bend down here on the 7th fret. How is that useful? It just is. There's how it's useful. As far as that tapping goes, just on, off, on, off, on, off. Again, just doing a little lick to get me back to A. So that's about all they did back in the day, was that type of thing. They would actually add another E note maybe on top of it. So you've got, we're going to go all the way up and tap on the 15th, 17th, 19th fret on the G string. So basically you're just getting an octave of the note that you're bending. So that was the majority of the tapping. The only other things that somebody might have done back then, and it was right after this thing came to be that everything just went hog wild. But again, we'll stay in the key of A. The other one was this thing. Okay, just to touch briefly on that stuff. Again, we're just here at the 5th fret. Okay, we're just going to concentrate on the B string only. Is that? You're at the 5th fret with your index finger. We're slamming it onto the 8th fret on the B string. If anything, to develop this, just pull it off, hammer it on. Don't do nothing down here, just practice doing that. Until you get that smooth flow going. Then we can start adding our other notes. That takes some getting used to. The next note we're looking at is to add the A note, which is simply here at the 10th fret on the B string. Now again, if you notice, I'll bring it up close. All here on the tap that we're doing, you're pulling it off, you're actually picking that note. Okay, so if we can keep that going, just like that. As you go faster, it ends up doing this. Okay, so that's where it sounds like they're playing a million notes. They're basically doing nothing. It's just a matter of getting your hands used to doing that. Now, just to start adding a few other notes, then we'll get out of here on this one. This thing you're doing here at the 5th and 8th, all you're doing is simply moving your notes back and forth within these 3 frets. And if you add the A note, that's where you start getting into your Van Halen-ish 80s era. And again, the note you're tapping, the A, you just carry that note up the scale. So you're at the 10th fret for your A, 12th fret for your B, then we're going to our 3rd at the 14th fret, 15th fret, all the way up to the 17th, gets our E note, which is our 5th. So that's where all that started going crazy. Anyway, so that's going to be basically it for us on tapping. Okay, another thing that is cool, I'm going to keep you in A one more time here, is those that we did earlier. Okay, these are just unison bends. We're going to do these, like I said, in the key of A, but we're going to switch them up to the E string. It's a harder stretch, but a very prominent part of 70s and rock and roll guitar playing back at the time. Okay, so let's go to the high E string on the 5th fret with your index finger. Now we're going to the 8th fret on the B string with your ring finger. Creates a 7th. All we're doing is bending the B string up to match the note we have on the E string. Okay? You'll just hear those two notes pulling together, becoming exactly the same note. Okay, this was used all the time. How? Like this. People are always going like this. You know, you heard that everywhere. It was all over the place, but that's just plain and simple how that is done. So you're trying to create some tension before that note on the B string reaches the same note that you're hitting on the E string. You're just bending into this thing. Okay, so you're trying to create some tension, create some flavor. It's very cool. So you're just following an A scale upward at the 5th, 7th, 9th, 10th, 12th, 14, 15, 17, for the whole octave. So it's just basically your A scale. That kind of thing. Okay, now another thing that is very cool, I'm going to get you out of the key of A just for fun. But anyway, all these licks work in whatever key you want to put them in. ZZ Top back in the day, there's one other thing they did that was done by accident by most people, and they used it for whole solos, which I thought was very cool, and people are still doing it all the time today. And they were pinching guitar notes, is what they call it. There's actually a term called pinching. And what it gives you is false harmonics. This stuff is done, it sounds like this. Okay, we're playing all these low notes, but we're getting all these high-pitched squeaks and squawks. Very cool. That was all one note, just right hand technique. To master this is not easy. Once you can actually figure it out, you'll never forget it. You'll be doing it all the time. And to show this is not easy. But what we actually are doing, here's where the trick in lies, is with your pick and your thumb, you're actually going to be hitting the string with your pick and the meat on your thumb at the same time. This takes some getting used to. You're going to basically have to slam some distortion on your guitar and basically just work with hitting your pick and part of your thumb at the same time. And that's the only way to show you how to do this. It's just a matter of practice on this thing. You're going to try it forever, you're not going to get it, then it's just going to happen. But anyway, that's how it's achieved. You can't do it by your guitar pick alone. You have to get a slight angle on your pick so that your thumb actually interferes with your picking. So it just creates this sound all over the place. Now what's going to give you all these different octaves, these pinched harmonics, is where you place your pick within the body of the guitar. So if I was to just take one note, I'm just going to do an A note here on the G string. And I'm just going to... I'm just pinching those things. I did not move my note down here. Just a matter of where you put your pick. You're going to find sweet spots that will always give you that note. that note, that note. You're just going to get used to where to play these. Anyway, you could do whole solos this way. Okay, I know you guys are just furious. You want to know exactly how that's done. Anyway, there's no other way anybody can show you any better than that. It's just a matter of your pick and part of your thumb are hitting the string down here at the same time. It's just something you got to mess with, try different angles till you get it, then just keep working with that. But that's a very cool thing. It's not so much a lick as it is a sound and an attitude that was created back then. Okay, so now what we're also going to do is the harmonics, not actually harmonics but harmonies. You had the Allman Brothers. You had all kinds of groups like that. Everybody was Thin Lizzy. Everybody was doing harmony guitar parts. Meaning one person was playing this. The next guitar player was. So all of a sudden. Then you would add the third guitar player, blah, 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 and just huge harmony guitars back then. Everybody, even Skinner, they had 3 or 4 lead guitar players playing different harmony parts. We can pseudo recreate that with a very easy scale, which is basically this. Okay, to get these, let's go to the key of, let's go to E. So we're going to go all the way up here to the 9th fret. Okay, and we're going to be covering all the strings eventually during this lick. Especially at the beginning, you've got everything across the 9th fret. We're going to go with the pinky on the 12th on the low E string, and your ring finger on the 11th on the A string. So you're going to start with the 2 that are just barred across there. You're going again the 12th and the 11th on the A. Okay, to get the next set, we're going to the A and D string. Again, still barred at the 9th. We're going to do those same 2 fingers, your pinky and ring finger. Your ring finger on the 11th fret on the A string. Your pinky directly underneath it on the D string on the 11th. So you have, we're just carrying that on down. So you're at the 9th fret here on the G and D string. We're just adding the 9th fret on the D and G string, or adding the 11th fret on the D and G string. Now, because of the way the B string's tuned, this changes up. We're still on the 9th fret on the G and B string. We're adding at the 11th on the G with your ring finger. 12th on the B string with your pinky. To finish that up, you're just still on the 9th fret on the high E and B string. And then you're just going all the way up to the 12th fret. So from the 9th to the 12th fret. Up there on the B and E string. So from beginning. Same thing, just backwards. So you can kind of see how you can quickly create a couple harmonies just being the sole guitar player. Okay, very cool by itself. Now, another thing we have is, let's go back to the key of A. It's a good, easy, standard key. Okay, since we're on here, I want to show you another thing as far as the tapping we did earlier, the hammer-offs, pull-offs. Another thing that's kind of cool is if you actually were to do this. That's the tapping we were doing earlier. We're just starting it all the way up here at the 17th fret on the B string. We're going all the way up to the 20th fret on the B string, and just getting our hammer-on pull-off thing going. People were not using whammy bars much back then because they did not stay in tune. There was no Floyd Rose, no locking nut systems. So what else we could do is actually physically grab that B string, and we're going to pull it away from the guitar neck while we're doing that. Check this out. So that's all you're doing, just reaching up here. You're grabbing the string, you're pulling it up, letting it down, pulling it up, letting it down. If you give it some good shakes, just really going like that with it, you're going to get that Floyd Rose sounding warble. So that's the way that people created that back in the day, was to do that. Okay, some other things I'm going to show you real quickly is if you're playing in a minor key. Like, let's go to, why are we want a good thing? Let's go to A minor. Just to get some quick licks, the easiest lick you can possibly throw in anything for a minor thing, most people get lost when they're playing minor leads, is this. Easy lick, but very effective. You're blazing through a major chord, major chord, major chord. You're confident, and all of a sudden somebody throws a minor at you. What do? Don't panic. Here's a good standby lick you can throw in any key. You're going to start it in the key of whatever you're playing. So we're going to go up to the 14th fret on the G string, which is our A note. And what we're going to do is get that with our ring finger, and we're just going to simply build a ladder, which gives us our minor chord. A, then C, which is at your 13th fret on the B string. Then E, which is the 12th fret, of course, of your E string. Okay, that's what we're going to be thinking of. Every time you see a minor chord come by you, we'll see E minor, we'll start at E. Back to A. So that's a good way to find it, because you're just going to be going based off of the note that you're playing on the G string and play this lick. This is basically from Mark Knopfler, who was in doing the Sultans of Swing thing, you know, with the Dire Straits. The lick, I think, was the actual lick he used in there. That's just ripped off from that. It's just a very cool lick that's very ear-friendly. Again, people like this. So if you're in minor, you're in the key of A minor, you've got those three notes. Play them like that. Simple notes to follow. You've got those three notes, G string, B string, E string. Then we're going all the way up to the 15th fret on the E string, pulling back off to the 12th. So the 15th fret with your ring finger, pulling back off to that E note. Now we're just playing within that chord again. We're going back to the B string, which again, you're building your ladder back down. So you're at the 13th fret on the B string. So you're just hammering it on, pulling off between the 12th and 13th fret on the B string. Finally just resolving on your A there at your 14th fret on the G string. Again, we can do that little bend earlier that was kind of minorish sounding. Just bend it up this time, and we're actually bending it up 3 frets. So you're actually hitting that C note that you just had on the B string and releasing it. So a good easy thing is play within that minor. Lots of hammer-ons. You can grab that 15th fret on the B string too. So again, that's just going to save you some time. you're playing along and you're in the key of D. You could be doing your Chuck Berry stuff. All of a sudden somebody shoots an A minor at you. What do? I don't know. Just grab that minor scope. A little point there, the B string when you're at your C note there. You can bend it up a whole step. So a good minor, that's an easy one to just fall back on all the time. Okay, another thing we have is, let's do a couple chordy things. An easy way to make a regular bar chord, like let's go for the key of E. So we're going to be doing a regular bar chord, 7th fret, here on the A string, of course, and just build your bar chord, 9th and 9th on the D and G. So there's our E bar chord. An easy way to thicken these up, somebody came up with these, is to simply move your bar up one more string, so you're actually covering the 7th fret on the low E string. A lot of heavy metal type stuff today, they're all using 7-string guitars, or everybody's just tuning down. That's a way to create that. Just to make your guitar, if you ever want to, just sound more gothic and heavy like that. So you're just playing a, if you're just playing a D chord, you have nothing down here, no D tuned to E string down to D on, you know, pretty much any time, unless you're using a D tuned guitar all the time, which you don't want to do. Why mess up a good thing? Just add that extra note above your root note. So there's your D, we're just adding your 5th below. And again, if you mute it with the palm of your hand, it gets very heavy sounding. So I'm just going to give you a couple tricks for your chords. See, so it just thickens that up. Another thing you can do, let's just stay in D while we're here now, is basically, you've got your ring finger here at the 7th fret on your D string. That note. We're just going to move it back one, leave everything else where it was. So we're moving it back to the 6th fret. Then lift it off. So you've got the 5th fret on the D string, back on. The 5th, or the 6th, I'm sorry. Then back up to the 7th. But leave the rest of your notes on there for your bar chord. If you're playing your whole bar chord and you're moving that around, you can do some really cool stuff just with that one chord. A lot of flavor in here. We could even change that up by just going to the 4th fret. You know, you have to reconfigure, but very cool. And again, if you throw that low 5th in on the chord, if some of you guys don't know your 9th chords, we got to learn these real quick. Okay, let's say we're just doing our standard G. We want to go to our 9th chord. Okay, if you don't know what that is, here it is real quick. Your first note that you're playing on is going to name the chord, so you can find it anywhere. We're going to do a C9, used in all your blues stuff and a lot of rock and roll. I'll show you how it's used. To achieve a 9th chord, you're at the 3rd fret on your A string to get your C with your middle finger, 2nd fret on the D with your 1st finger, then your ring finger lays across at the 3rd fret, lays all the way across to your G, B, and E string. So you've got that. Now the cool thing about the 9th chord, it's very cool sounding to replace any 4-chord in a progression. So you're in G, that kind of thing. And the 9th chord is very comfortable moving up a whole step back to where you were. So if you've skipped on this or never learned it before, that's one to learn. Okay, now that 9th chord is also very handy in a lot of other things. Let's go to the key of E. There's one. If you're playing heavier stuff, that's a great chord to use and really shake that thing with some vibrato. Again, that's the same thing we did down here. We're just moving it up to E. We're starting here at the 7th fret. So slide into it. Pass it and come back to it. That can be a great chord over top of somebody else playing a regular E down here. He's down there chunking away. You can it's just one of those cool chords that just ride over the top of everything. It's basically what Hendrix did. If you know that chord, you're basically, okay, if you don't, here it is. 7th fret on the A, 6th fret on the D, 7th fret on the G, and now we're at the 8th fret on the B. So that's the Jimi Hendrix E 7th sharp 9th chord, which does not exist except for somehow it pertains to him. All it was that 6th chord. He added a pinky on the B string. So there's genius at work right there, huh? Okay, anyway. But again, so there's that chord. It's very cool too. He did one thing cool, and it was that. He did a lot of things cool. Sorry about that. Again, Stevie Ray Vaughan revitalized that thing. He breathed some new life into it. So that's just the 9th chord, adding a pinky up here, you know, just one more fret up. So very cool thing in and of itself. Okay, some other things we have going on here are just a basic descending lick. If you're coming out of, let's go to G this time. We haven't been in G all day. Again, we're going to use that bend we did way back at the beginning. Let's refresh it. We're here at the 13th on the B and the 13th on the E. We've got the one finger back here on the B string at the 11th for stability and pull off. Now just a little lick to get us out of there. It's just that. So we're starting at the 12th on the G, pulling off to the 10th. Going to the 12th on the D, back to the 10th on the G. Now we're bringing it down to the 12th again on the D. We're sliding down from the 12th, down to the 10th, pull off to the 8th. Finally going to hit our last G note here at the 10th fret on the A string. Okay, so that's how that one goes. Very cool. Check it out. Simple lick. Again, it's based on what we did at the very beginning. All that stuff, we're just bringing it backwards. Rephrasing it. The way we use it. basic, very simple, effective lick. Anyway, we got to get out of here, kiddies. I hope you've enjoyed this, shed some light on what made guitar so cool back in the day. So anyway, until next time, we're going to put out some more of these. Y'all stick around, check out all the other DVDs we have available. And until next time, keep rocking, kids. Take care.